Well, if you see off the thumbnail how it was all sweetly created, welcome to Crazy Pinfalls podcast. What's up, guys? How you doing?
I'm tired. I had to get up at 10:40 this morning. I work third shift, as a reminder. I had to get up at 10:40 this morning for a hearing for the state of Michigan going after my ex for taking benefits when she was no longer a resident of Michigan. And then on top of that, all day long, guys have been working on our roof. So,
by the way, for just to let everybody know, it's really nice to get a phone call at 7 o'clock and 6:30 in the morning.
Hold on.
A phone call.
No. You called me first.
Yeah, but you texted me at 6:30 this morning.
No, I texted you a little after 6, and all I did was say, "Hey, you up?" That's it, and I didn't get a response. I'm like, "Okay, that's fine, whatever. Maybe he's not working today."
Yeah, I was sleeping, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just go off the bat here. We're gonna save some stuff for later, so we can have people come on and them to come on at least. So we had a lot of shit to cover, and we've been trying to condense it for an hour, but that's why we extended a half hour tonight. Punk, oh my freaking bloody god. The pop was deafening. I think I could compare that closest towards The Rock coming back for his first time around, where the pop was insane. For me, at least, Punk has always been my favorite wrestler of this generation of all time. So, I mean, for me, it's a little different. But I'm excited. I think last night, and my girlfriend couldn't even contest to this, that was the first time I've ever watched AEW and sat through the whole show and just to watch, try to catch Punk, but, doing stuff around the house, you kind of can't miss it. Mm-hmm. But I rewatched it and just, geez, it left me more questions than answers. But what did you guys think about Punk coming back on, Dynamite last night and him coming in general?
So that Friday Night Rampage, when it started and the crowd is just chanting CM Punk, you're like, okay, they have to do it right away. There'd been all the speculation and going in and be like, will they save it until the end? Will they kick it off? And clearly with that crowd, you could not afford to wait. And Warren actually posted on his YouTube a short of recording him actually coming out. And legitimately, all you get is the first riff of Cult of Personality, and that's it. The crowd goes nuts, and you can't even hear the music. It's the only frame of reference that I have for that is the Raw where Elias made his in-ring debut, and before his match, he came out to the ring and sang a song, and you couldn't even hear him in the crowd because that's how loud the boos were. So I can only imagine how loud that United Center, which is much bigger than the Van Andel Arena, than where I was at, how loud that dumb crowd was. And I've watched that return probably at least 5 or 6 times.
I'm at 7 right now, and it just gets better and better.
Oh,
yep.
I beat you both. Probably have doubled both of you and added together. Okay. Oh. I've seen it so many times. And actually, I'll do you one better, Anakin. Probably the bigger pop that I can remember that wasn't Friday was also an Elias segment, but it was actually the one where he was out with Kevin Owens. And I don't remember where it was.
Well, that was in Seattle, because they made a rib about the Sonics leaving Seattle and becoming the Oklahoma City Thunder. But I'm just saying about what I personally have witnessed, because I've only been to one wrestling show. As far as like overall pops, like, I mean, like up until that point, I probably would have put, as far as pops, I probably would have put either Becky winning the Rumble or the next night on Raw when she comes out to face Ronda, and just the huge pop that she got then. I probably would have put that as some of the
Yeah.
biggest pops that I've ever heard. People will put up like Triple H returning to Madison Square Garden right before the Rumble in 2002, and then CM Punk coming out in Chicago for Money in the Bank 2011. I've never thought those pops were that big personally. Maybe they were huge when you were in the arena, but it didn't come across on TV. But this return, it came across so well on TV. And
really
the
did.
emotion he had in his face, like
That's what started for me.
yes, like I started getting misty-eyed at that because that was it was
I was full on
incredible.
crying. I have no problems admitting I full on cried.
So
Because
for
it's
me, after I've seen it so many times, I watched it just for the first time around for pure emotion, just because of the fact that this, and I'll talk about this because I'll pull up the tweet that I had and I'll work on that while we're talking, because I had a hot take about this, and I don't know if a lot of people paid attention to it, but it made perfect sense. So I'll work on that. But the thing about it is, for me, when Punk left, it left the hole in a lot of things. And it was the most interesting aspect of it because of the fact that it literally from that on, it was a paradigm shift. So, I mean, what is like the one moment that you guys seen other than Punk that something like this has happened beforehand?
I mean, I would have to say John Cena returning at the Rumble in 08. I mean, that was huge. You know, nobody was expecting him to come back that soon, and that's another one where the roof just went off.
The Rock, when The Rock came back in 2011 to host WrestleMania.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
That's probably like the last sustained just uproar from a crowd in a positive way since last Friday.
Well, for me, I can tell you this too. For a music standpoint, and also for me was a paradigm shift, was Austin. And I point this out because obviously it's in Boston, but for me, when I was growing up, for this moment to happen, to see the change of everything for wrestling, was WrestleMania 14. Austin holding the title at the end after Shawn leaves, and all of a sudden you hear, you know, Austin's theme music from when that glass shattered. All of a sudden, every time you hear that, you knew something was going to, or something special might happen that night. And to me, that's a paradigm shift. That's something that just changed the way wrestling was, and it did. We got the Attitude Era mostly, and now this is a new change.
Let's not forget too, Moxley coming out at the very end of Double or Nothing 2019 after the Jericho Omega match. Yeah, that was an insane crowd as well.
Well, I mean, so I'm going to share this too because I want you guys' opinion on this take because I wrote this, obviously, so I'm prideful of it. But I also know that sometimes I type stuff and say shit that, you know, is basically kind of dumb. So this is what I put it on Twitter. This is my thread right now. So it says hot take AEW loyal has loyal a hot AEW take. Loyal WWE fans are questioning WWE's intentions. Punk's return is a sign of change and has arrived, and a new era has broken of promises and unfulfilled storylines that WWE fans are or were invested in. Things need to change. I didn't watch much of AEW product at times, and then Anakin chimes in on that. This is a breath of fresh air, seeing the company that listens to its fan base and not costing their not
cast their thoughts aside.
I have a reading disability. Give me
no, it's fine. No, it's fine.
But I mean, casting their thoughts aside is a great feeling to see. The crowds are back in full force, and WWE on the biggest show of their year has seemed to be pushed back aside for a person in Punk that, you know, can alter the landscape of wrestling in a heartbeat. A sign at the show said that over 2,700 days since Punk was was on any promotion or television program, meaning WWE, AEW, as a wrestling talent until now. Goes to show you the line from Field of Dreams is true. If you build it, they will come. In an instant was the case. Since the last time Punk was on WWE program till now, the landscape has changed, and the momentum and hope of his return has built up to the point where it seemed like an inferno going through the wrestling world. Again, these are my thoughts and my thoughts alone. For once, I'm excited as a fan, and WWE take notice. SummerSlam is tonight, and it seems that you have some hopes from your fans to make a big impact, and more so than anything. I've been watching WWE since I was 4, 36 years of watching their product. Now, last night, one AEW rampage has made me questioning what's next. What's in other things will change, and is it not too many times this is going to happen? Basically, I can remember say from Monday Night Wars to Austin's Rising, and now tonight, I'm wondering what is going to happen next. I guess we'll find out in time. And again, these are my thoughts. So, I mean, do you see a paradigm shift like something like that, where loyal WWE fans are questioning everything in general to basically, and like I point out, and Anakin chimed in on that tweet, that it's making those people that watch WWE product, Raw, SmackDown. Well, I'm going to get NXT out of the side of this, but mainly Raw and SmackDown over the years to like question, like, why am I watching WWE when they're giving me what I want and I've been asking for? You know, it's like WWE's neglected the real hardcore people, the core fans that they've had for years, and now then who are loyal to their product. But now that, you know, things are the way they are, they're questioning it. So have you been questioning? Like, I know Drew absolutely hates cover when he was working for K-Sides, hates covering those things. But I mean, did that kind of alter your perception that AEW is now listening even more so to people besides the talent, like Punk says, or is this changing your perspective of WWE from like when you first started to now?
Well, so actually, I did my own, like, I think hour or so long podcast on this myself, just because I wanted to get my opinions on this out there, because that's how incredibly moved I was by the weekend, just from Friday Punk showing up all the way to Monday. And the thing about it is that, you know, while I only just had recently started not liking covering WWE, like within the past 2 months. And, you know, I said, like, it's almost like too good of a coincidence that my job would have made me not be able to cover Raw, so I wasn't going to be able to cover Raw anymore anyway after SummerSlam. So the problem is that exactly what you just said, WWE no longer wants its fields. I mean, to me personally, this might not be exactly the case, but from what I've seen in recent times, WWE doesn't want a professional wrestling fan. WWE wants a sports entertainment fan. And that's who they're marketing to now. All they care about, as Nick Khan has said just the other day in that interview, they're not even looking to pursue wrestlers in the independents at this point. They want everything in-house. They want basically the less wrestling knowledge, the better, so that this way they can mold these people into sports entertainment superstars instead of professional wrestlers. So I'm not I'm not for that anymore. And I've been, and we're going to talk about the events after Friday for sure. Saturday is SummerSlam. Things that WWE are doing, or as it's been kind of reported, things that people in WWE want to do that are not necessarily right, but they see as the best creative decision that they can put forth. I'm not a sports entertainment fan, so as a result, it's kind of now that I'm not working, now that I'm not covering WWE for Kate Sud anymore, I'm not really that concerned with watching it at this point.
It's interesting to me to see the different perspectives, and I thought, for me at least, watching it as long as I have, I'm like everybody knows, I'm 40, so I've been watching it since 4. You do the math, and it since Saturday Night Main Event started, and probably about maybe 85, 86 around then when NBC used to have it, all the way till now. I've been watching WWE product for the most part. Like NXT I watch NXT as much as I can, as best as I can. But now I'm more curious about AEW, and I'm even doing something I never thought I would do. I'm contemplating actually purchasing All Out for the first time, and I never have bought a pay-per-view or anything like that. Just like today was the first day I've shipped something out of Massachusetts, and we'll see how that goes. I mean, I'll explain that later, but it's interesting for me to be excited as a fan. I don't look at sports entertainment as an entity. I still look at it as wrestling. It's just, it's the same stuff that happens. It's just it has me more wondering what's next for WWE because of everything. And we'll talk about the weekend in a second, but I'll have it, Aaron's thoughts on this too. It's changed the landscape, and especially like last night on AEW was the first time I would peek in and look at the YouTube stuff and check out the highlights and stuff. But last night was the first time I've actually split between a Red Sox game and sat down in between commercials to check the score and then go straight back to AEW. Yeah, throwback watched AEW. Shocker. But but it's just I'm so used to having one thing. It's like pizza. If you eat pizza for months and months and months for or so amount of time, like for me, I have to do it for Lent. You get sick of pizza real quick. It's the same way with me now with WWE. I stopped watching Raw now, and I'll watch NXT and SmackDown.
The problem, too, that I just wanted to mention also, is that what Nick Khan's interview basically outlined for anybody who listens is that they would rather do the similar monotonous programming that they do on Raw and SmackDown every week instead of building up people from the 205 Live division, which, I mean, is that even going to exist soon at this point anyway? Because they're already putting people who are not 205 on 205 Live. And all of the things like I remember Evolution, the Cruiserweight Classic, the women's tag that they did, the Mae Young. I mean, the Mae Young Classic, the Dusty Classic. All of these things that would actually appeal to people outside of the WWE bubble, they just don't care about anymore. So that's what I get from Nick Khan's interview, and he might try and walk it back or whatever, but does it really matter what he said? You can see it if you watch WWE.
You can ask any questions. We'll put it on the screen. Any comments, suggestions, or anything.
I had just one take. Look. WWE has always been entertainment. Even when it was at its best, it was always entertainment. So it's like I accepted it. It's right now it's not very good. It's like it's the worst it's ever been. But I accept it's always been entertainment from probably when they started going more cartoony characters in the early 90s, and then Attitude Era, even though Attitude Era is the best, it was the peak of wrestling, it was still entertainment. This WWE just didn't admit it. It was entertainment. It was always entertainment. So I just accepted that for like forever, basically.
There is a reason why Punk, in his promo Friday night, said he left professional wrestling in 2005 and he returned in 2021.
I mean, it makes sense. And
But look, AEW has the wrestling, but AEW can't deny it's also entertainment.
Wrestling in its nature is entertainment.
Right.
Exactly.
But watching, professional basketball in its nature is entertainment. The difference is
sports in
general. Speaking of entertainment, he finally shows up looking all peaceful.
Hey, Pluggo.
It's Wicked Crazy Pinfalls contributor and love wrestling person who outpicks all supposedly Pluggo.
It's not supposedly throwback. It is the truth. I outpick everyone all the time. All day, every day, twice on Sundays.
Well, since you're on and we're picking people's brains and yours in general, because do you want to know who won between Kevin and Witz, or do you want to know who wins between the king of all worlds versus the head of the table?
Who's the king of all worlds?
That's my friend who is very shy.
That's for the end of the show. When you can do the NXT one because that one doesn't
matter. The bigger surprise that any wrestler that coming back to their respective shows this weekend.
It don't matter. I'll outpick everyone. That's what I do.
All right. So, Anakin, you have the results for the NXT show, and we'll get back about Punk. And I know you're in Russian because your show comes on it very soon too, Pluggo.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here for a few minutes, then I got to pop out. But I figured I'd say hi to you, lovely.
You're the bubble deal spot.
I got that Brock Lesnar contract here at Crazy Pinfalls.
Yeah, and he's basically like Brock right now. He comes in for a couple of seconds and bounces out.
You need a little ponytail.
I'll work
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. All right, so for takeover predictions, remember it was Kevin against Steve Witz, and with 80% to 20%, Kevin beats Steve Witz and moves on. And actually, Tad says, or probably smashed is a more appropriate term because Steve Witz got smashed.
Let's just say this much. This tournament just got more interesting because guess who Kevin's facing in the next round?
Who's that?
We're going to have an in-house freaking brawl in that household because it's him and his wife.
Oh, that'll be good. Also,
and let's just be the point. I did not set it up this way. It just happened this way because we talked about this.
So also, if you remember, Angel and Sloan were tied. There's now a winner in that. There was a tiebreaker, and Sloan won the tiebreaker. So Sloan moves on as well.
Yeah. So things are heating up, Pluggo. You got a lot more people to offer obstacles, man.
It doesn't matter. Put them all. Like Roman Reigns when he defended the WWE Championship in the Royal Rumble against all other 29 competitors. It don't matter.
So right now, as it stands, it's yet to be determined.
You know Roman Reigns lost that, right?
Oh, no, I forgot. Did he? Oh,
yeah.
Did he really?
He lost. Triple H won, remember?
Oh, that's right. You know what I'm saying.
So yet to be determined right now. But I'm sorry, Kevin, but you're facing your wife in the next round. And then Sloan is going to be facing somebody at the New Year's pay-per-view coming up soon. So that's got some time. But Aaron's second chance is going to be against Mr. Glenn from Wrestling Story. So that will be interesting. Tank and Louis will be going next for Extreme Rules. The distraction triple threat match we are trying to schedule, and I need Anakin's input on that because the winner faces at Full Gear. And 2 of the main rounds will be determined right now because War Games is Ron Patel and Anakin. Pluggo is waiting for the winner of his cohort, JPJ and Steven Jensen. And Maggie will meet the next person at Survivor Series. And Rob Wilkins and Dennis Farrell at Bound for Glory in October. So it's getting there. We're heating it up right now. So it's getting there quickly.
But interesting. Are we sure we don't want to reveal the SummerSlam results now while Pluggo's on the air?
No, that is the main event of the show.
I'm the main event of the show. No, I'm just kidding.
Pluggo outpicks all.
No, you're the beginning of the card of the show because you have another show to go to.
That's right.
I need to be able.
You warm us up, Pluggo.
Brock Lesnar deal. I show up and then I just leave.
Yeah, except you can't do that with the title, man. Especially if
you're like Pluggo. You're like the main event at the first WrestleMania with Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania 35. That's what you are. That's your Brock Lesnar of that year, WrestleMania 35.
So
doing me dirty.
Let's answer this question right here, and it's a large one. I want to see Roman go 500 days plus, run and break Brock's streak of 504 record for the Universal title. However, I am aware many fans are starting to get sick of Roman and Paul and want to let them lose. There's rumors of Roman versus Brock at Survivor Series. So many questions. Will WWE actually have Roman go another year and a half with the championship? I think he will. And if they do, how should they do it with fans? I think with Roman, and I think it's the most important thing, and I'll get Pluggo's opinion first, and we'll go back around, is that Roman right now is literally, as they say, is their hot chip. Like their one article that they have that can't do no wrong. It's like the golden goose that lays the egg. For me, at least, if they're going to have Roman go all the way to Mania, and if they do anything for him to lose it, it's probably going to have to be something where, Big E cashes it, or it's going to have to be The Rock or something like that to make a paradigm shift. I think they did this prematurely. I think they could have waited at Mania for Brock and have Rock do it, but it could be a schedule issue. We don't know that. So
I think I had read a report actually that this was supposed to be the Mania program or something. It was supposed to be a WrestleMania program. I don't remember where I read it from, but that was.
Well, was it for WrestleMania? I read they were planning Brock Lesnar for like WrestleMania 2 years down the line.
That was what it was.
They can't decide what they're doing next week on Raw. Who are we kidding?
Like 2023.
Like being like, oh well, this is gonna be the plan for WrestleMania or Survivor Series. Like, dude, I'm not even convinced they have an idea of what they're doing next for next month's pay-per-view.
I was reading that report. I'm like, what, WrestleMania 2023? They can't even plan for next week.
And we are going to get to the short-sightedness of WWE in a minute because I got a lot to say.
Yeah, considering you're ready to blow up like a
I'm
Jumbotron.
ready. I'm ready.
You started early for a reason.
Yes.
I could agree with the 505 and let Roman losing it and stuff like that for the title and stuff. I think, though, if you're going to keep the title on Roman, give him something like Walter type of run and make it like, because they're retconning NXT obviously right now. And I want to point this out quick. Charlotte's promo on Raw, and I caught that on the highlights, mentioning that she was 5-time SmackDown, 6 times Raw women's champion, and 1 Divas champion. She's 12-time champion. She's won the NXT title twice. They just retcon NXT.
Not canon.
They're not counting that.
They count it now in the whole freaking Grand Slam thing. If you hear Bailey and all that stuff,
they're not counting it.
Well, look,
they're not counting it now.
They make up their own rules as they go. So.
Yeah. Again, they had the NXT champion job out to a guy who jobbed out on main event like a week before. They don't they don't care about NXT, which is a shame considering, you know,
that same guy has suspenders and a bad mask.
The takeover card.
Well, he's not NXT champion anymore, so now they can really make him look ridiculous.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, all I gotta say is come over here, man. Just like, geez, forget. I gotta look at that every time. I'm gonna start that as one of those things, like, if I'm gonna start looking for it actually, where every time someone mentions Cross, the Scorpion gets plays and says, "Come over here."
You show. You need Jack Crosby.
Jack's a funny guy. So yeah, to answer this question, I think you obviously know my answer is hell yeah, absolutely. Roman Reigns should break that streak. And now the interesting part was Dark Sage asked if the fans would want to see it. Now, I don't think, WWE is so interesting with this because sometimes you think that that Vince doesn't know what it is that he wants to do, and he's ripping up scripts 30 minutes before the show and redoing the whole damn thing. But I don't know necessarily if a lot of fans really know what they want either, because a lot of times there have been situations where, the perfect thing that I'll always go to is when Seth Rollins and Dolph Ziggler had a match, and I don't remember where it was, but I remember that the crowd was totally not into it at all. And Dolph and Seth usually get good reactions.
Dolph McIntyre team up time?
No, it would be before that.
Oh, okay.
Before McIntyre was back in WWE.
Okay.
Like guys who get reactions suddenly don't get reactions anymore, or people boo.
Ziggler at one point years ago had massive reactions.
Yeah, like when he cashed in the Money in the Bank on Alberto Del Rio that time, that was a major moment for him that hasn't ever come back since.
Yeah.
So sometimes, and then so I technically I can see sometimes it's not always WWE's fault, but man, if you just make an entertaining show, it's not that hard. It's really not that hard.
Pluggo, what do you think? Considering you have like maybe 10 minutes before you have to hop on.
Not even 10 minutes. I got like about 5. We got an early start there. We got a lot going on over between 3 weeks. No, I think to the point of like, do you wait it out with Reigns? I think you do. I don't think. And then the rumors of the Brock Lesnar program being at Mania. If you get Brock Lesnar, get it done, get it over with now. You never know what could happen with injuries, COVID. I think the WWE is in a position right now where they've got to kind of scramble. And if you can get The Rock to show up for Hell in a Cell, I'm just using it as an example, you would take it, right? Given all the buzz that AEW is getting. With Roman, I still find it entertaining. I'm not one of those fans that thinks the Roman thing has ran its course. I think you give him a long run, at least through Mania, see where it goes. Why not have a 600-day champion and just assert him as the most dominant force you've seen in a long time? I'm all for it. Why not?
Yeah, considering the fact that Brock is...
What else do they have right now that is compelling?
He has to break CM Punk's record of the Summer of Punk.
But I'm just saying, like right now,
That's the goal.
To their own fault on SmackDown, they've got nothing else heated up that even compares to what Roman's doing. So
well, I mean, what we'll be getting to very soon that happened.
I did like the Seth Rollins Edge thing. I think the Seth Rollins Edge thing was good. Their match was really, really good at SummerSlam.
Right, but Seth Rollins just lost.
Talking about Becky.
Mm-hmm.
Becky's great, but I mean,
I know you're talking about.
But she's not challenging Roman Reigns for the Universal title. If we're talking Universal title picture and keeping in that bubble,
No, Becky Lynch is Roman Reigns. She has to be the Roman Reigns. That's what they want.
You want Becky Lynch to beat Roman Reigns.
To be
No,
the Roman Reigns.
No,
To
she
be the-
is going to be the Roman Reigns of the women's.
That's what they're
division.
planning.
Yeah.
And that's fine. But if we're talking Roman Reigns, we're talking Universal title. We're not talking about the women's. If Becky Lynch I want Becky Lynch to be the president of the United States. I love Becky Lynch. But if we're
I don't
talking,
think she's legally allowed.
yeah, you get what I'm saying, though.
I know.
My point is
I think
simple.
Last guy shouldn't have been legally allowed.
Roman Reigns is in the men's Universal title picture. He is the hottest thing by a landslide that they've got going. Edge is not going to be that guy.
No.
Seth just lost to Edge, so he needs a little, he would need a big push to get to Roman's level. So why not go 600 days with him until you've got another, but build up some surefire in-house full-time competition for him and make it compelling. Quit throwing him at, basically he's
that's WWE, though. That's WWE's problem.
Right?
Build up somebody for him.
The problem is that WWE doesn't give a shit about that.
Yeah, exactly.
You remember last year's WrestleMania? Seth Rollins lost to Kevin Owens, and then Seth Rollins was immediately in a WWE title picture with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, but that's their own fault. That's why you keep the belt on Reigns until you can figure this shit out.
I mean, they got to do something anyways, because, eventually, what's after Brock? It's the same question with NXT after Joe. Who's the next person?
He's going to lose to Corbin. Corbin's going to get his luck back. Corbin's going to become a huge babyface, and he's going to lose to Corbin. Just watch.
There's still stories to be told, but in terms of people on the current roster right now that we think beat Roman Reigns straight up, it's very slim.
Yeah, that's true. There's nobody on the roster who could beat Roman Reigns right now. Raw and SmackDown. You know what? Maybe if Bobby Lashley was on SmackDown, if he was done right, maybe him, but there's nobody else.
Except maybe Becky Lynch.
Yeah, Becky Lynch.
Did you hear what
Vince Russo said? Vince Russo said they should have Becky Lynch wrestle men.
They should have had Becky Lynch at least not squash Bianca Belair. But hey.
Yeah, we'll get to that. Yeah.
On that point, I love you boys. Thanks for having me on. I got to get over and get ready for my show. But you know what I say? Pluggo out picks everybody. Till next time.
Later.
Bye, bud.
The thing about that, I just wanted to say really quickly before I forget this point. The thing about that is that because of the flip-flopping nature of WWE creative, aka Vince McMahon, anybody that gets built up will also immediately get pushed down, because we've seen it with tons of people just in the past year alone. Anybody that looks like they could get to that level are all of a sudden not on TV. Perfect example, Liv Morgan. Where the fuck has Liv Morgan been?
Catering.
They built Money in the Bank around her. She doesn't win Money in the Bank, and then she's not on TV afterwards.
They do that to her a lot, though. They always build momentum for Liv Morgan, and then they don't. They screw her up, man. They forget about her.
It just doesn't make sense when you got that much of a good of a talent, just sitting around doing nothing. Like, come on now. I mean,
think Anakin's ready to explode in there,
I think Anakin's chomping at the bit right now.
Yeah,
He's literally salivating to say something.
Is it time for the SummerSlam moment? I think.
No, not yet.
Oh.
No, he's chomping at the bit since we said the magic word. Go right ahead. Do you want the full screen, my friend?
Oh, I'm taking the full screen.
Go right ahead.
I'm taking the full screen. All right. I am as close to a Becky Lynch stan as you can get without actually being a stan. I'm probably
Where's Patrick Mason when you need him.
I am probably going to be the biggest Becky Lynch fan that you guys will probably know. I have this Becky shirt, which I'm wearing right now. I have this Becky shirt. I have this one, and my headphone fell out, so I can't hear you guys right now, but I'm still talking. I have this one. I even have the 4th of July one that they made that I wear on the 4th of July. I also happen to have in here 2 Becky Funkos, and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5, but 6 Becky action figures. I even bought this one when I saw it in the store and realized, oh, that's a new one. I don't have that one yet. My phone lock screen is that. My phone home screen and my computer background is this. I'm going to get a poster of that Money in the Bank 2019 and get it framed as something to hang whenever I move. Becky, I was pissed when I could not get the night of WrestleMania 35 off to see Becky live in the main event of WrestleMania because my coworker happened to also have the night off and I couldn't get to watch it live. I am such a huge Becky fan. And what they did at SummerSlam pisses me off to no end. To no end. I've been waiting for Becky to come back. I was so excited to see her return as a surprise, especially considering the unfortunate news about Sasha, who I also really love watching. And WWE in 26 seconds completely whiffed it. Having her sucker punch Bianca, do the manhandle slam, which I personally don't remember that being a big move of hers. Certainly not as a finisher. And she beats Bianca 1, 2, 3. Bianca Belair, who you had put on an incredible performance at the Royal Rumble, had that great moment with Rhea at the end where both of them were on the apron, and Rhea goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's get back in the ring and let's do this the right way. Then they go. You have Bianca win. You have Bianca main event WrestleMania Night 1 against Sasha Banks in the match of the weekend, in that fantastic match with that fantastic ending with the hair whip spot, which then ends up winning the ESPY for best WWE moment. And you have Becky punk her out in under 30 seconds, and then supposedly now there is a report, which I'm not believing until Sean Ross Sapp reports it, because Mike Johnson can go screw himself. Which is something that Hannah clued me into a while ago, and it's like, I don't trust Mike Johnson any farther than I could throw him, and I don't think I could throw him very far. So but if Becky is going to be a heel, whoever came up with that idea, whether it was Becky or Vince or Seth or somebody else, whoever it was, if they're going to go with Becky being a heel, whoever came up with that idea is a moron. They are an idiot because they do not understand what the character of Becky means and how big and good she can actually be. If Becky was not able to do a full-on match, because there's been that speculation, they could have just had her show up at the end. You have Naomi or Liv Morgan or somebody else come out and challenge on Bianca, and they have a nice match, and then at the end, then Becky comes out after Bianca's like, there's no more competition, and then Becky says, am I enough competition for you? Or if Becky could go, you do a triple threat. You have Becky pin Carmella or submit on Carmella. You especially do it where if you want to get over the manhandle slam, Becky throws the Bianca out of the ring, then quickly hits Carmella with the move 1, 2, 3. Bianca still looks good because she got thrown out of the ring and wasn't able to get back in time, and then you can build to a proper feud. And the people who say, oh, well, this is going to be the start of a better story, it's going to lead to something. It was Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Do you know how many big fights have happened in that stadium?
Mm-hmm.
How many big fights have gone down? This is the largest crowd that you have had in over a year, because that SummerSlam or because that WrestleMania crowd was not a full capacity crowd. This was the biggest crowd that you have had for well over a year, since Royal Rumble 2020 in that baseball stadium. And you decide to do this to build to another match on another pay-per-view with way less people and way less buzz. I have not, we said before how many times we've watched the CM Punk entrance. You know how many times I've gone back and watched Becky Lynch's return? Zero times.
Same.
And you know what I did after that moment happened? After the celebration, which, by the way, celebration lasted longer than the actual match, which is a crock. You know what I did? I turned SummerSlam off. I turned it off. I didn't care about what else happened. Oh, Edge, the thumb came out to the Brood music and with the entrance and the lights and everything.
That was sick.
Cool. Oh, Brock Lesnar returned, and then after the show, F5 John Cena bit. All right. Oh, Bobby Lashley actually beat down Goldberg and really hurt his knee, and then went after Goldberg's son and put him in the Hurt Locker. Whatever. I don't care. And I don't even know if I want to watch SmackDown tomorrow to see what they're going to do with Becky, because it's just so frustrating. I love Becky. That was not the way that it should have.
2018 all over again.
That was not the way that it should have been done. Bianca deserved better. If Bianca was going to drop the title, she should have been able to do it in a competitive match that still made her look good. And that is why, more than ever, never more than now, I want Becky out of that company. And Patrick Mason said, "Oh, I don't see Becky ever leaving." And I said, "There's a lot of people I never thought would have left that I thought would have been life."
But they're not.
They're not
going to release Becky though.
I don't believe that for a second anymore. Charlotte, I don't put Charlotte on that list anymore of people that I think would be WWE lifers. I don't think Becky would either, especially considering the fact she's a new mom. She's going on the road again. She'd be doing house shows and stuff. Is she really going to want to be having that much time on the road and not at home with her baby? And yes, she and Seth are both on SmackDown. So when Becky is out there doing her thing, Seth can be watching the baby. When Seth is out there doing his thing, Becky can be watching the baby. And I'm sure there's plenty of people backstage more than willing to babysit. I mean, most of the women on the roster alone would be like, absolutely, give me baby time. But
can I just say this real quick? Speaking of that, it'd be like Roman saying he's the head of the friggin' daycare, literally because of kids.
But it's just I want Becky out of that company more than ever, because quite frankly, I don't trust WWE to handle this well. They learned nothing from what happened in 2018 when they tried to turn Becky heel and the fans rejected it. And I'm afraid that this time Becky may actually get booed, not because of her, but because of the booking, because of what was done to Bianca, because of what was done, because of what was done to her. And it is just, I hate this fucking company so much for this. I can't even tolerate it.
All I gotta say is like I just did. That was actually when he said I hate that company. That literally gift just literally hit just perfectly.
It's just,
and look, you know, anybody that watches this, you could call me a WWE hater. Right up here, this guy never watched AEW, and he's thinking of purchasing All Out. This guy right here.
I purchased All Out 2 years ago.
The biggest Becky fan I literally ever have known.
I proved it.
Hey, all I gotta say is Anakin is Thank you.
I don't care.
Anakin
I
is
don't-
well said.
It's just such. They did Bianca dirty so much, and it literally made me not even care about the rest of the show.
So here's
The worst
what
part is
happened
they advertised the match up to all the way for Sasha Banks all the way to that moment. Like
that's a separate issue because yes, there's definitely wrong there, but that is a separate issue from.
And we actually just talked about that a couple of weeks ago, I think. And when Sloan was in here, we talked about how they've hyped up things, and they play the card subject to change. You have to actually change the card though.
Yeah. For me though, it's for SummerSlam, I went out for a little bit and stuff. I started watching it and I couldn't grasp into it. And then I got halfway through and then I saw everybody going off about Becky. I rewatched it and it was so disappointing. But I could see having her out because of Sasha. But the booking on the fantasy stuff that I did, people were like, wow, that makes sense. They're going to have Becky and Bianca go all the way towards Survivor Series, bring Sasha back, and then that will for Survivor Series or something like that, and that will ramp up something like have Sasha intervene in that match and get ready for the Rumble with that. But I honestly think they did it wrong. Yeah, that's what I was saying. I was thinking they were going to do a triple threat with that.
They redid Kofi Kingston and Brock Lesnar.
They pretty much did.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty much. I feel bad for Bianca Belair because she was massive over the fans. If they think that beating Becky is gonna get her massive over the fans, they're wrong because she's already over with the fans. There's no need for this.
Do you know what also sucks is there's this, which is there's this right here. Look at her new shirts. They're so boring.
They look exactly like the man shirt.
Well, yes, and the man shirt was good because it was because it reminded people of Austin 316 of those t-shirts. And I have one of those. And then I have the one. This shirt is just so it's so boring. It's not even bad. It's just boring.
It's lazy.
And I'm like, I'd rather it be I'd rather it be bad than boring and lazy. I will also say too, because I forgot to mention this. I have looked into seeing they sell a replica leather jacket that Becky had and was wearing. I've looked into seeing if that's unisex because I would take that. I would buy that and I would wear that if it is a unisex. From everything that I've seen that I can find, it looks like it's only a women's. I would still buy it and then just hold on to it for eventually if I ever dated somebody else. And I would give to her and have her wear like that. And that jacket is not cheap. That jacket I think was like $150 or $200, and I would have been willing to put the money down for it.
Well, if you're ready to put the money down, you can help me with funding a new title eventually next year.
Bro, you've already got like 4 titles right now. I can't even tell how many you've got.
Because this one's getting shipped out, and we're going to end up probably in talks right now with a few people about doing another thing for maybe a tag team kind of deal. I don't know, maybe.
The Raw Women's Champion, the last Raw Women's Champion,
Nikki
didn't even have merchandise on the fucking WWE shop
until a week before she dropped the title. Yeah,
but that's supposed to be marketed to kids.
Yeah, and I will continue. Look, I'm going to continue to support Becky. I will at least check out her segments on YouTube. If she has a match, I'll probably look for that specific match and watch it. I'll continue to buy the action figures if I see new ones. I'm looking to seeing about any of the older ones, like that I could get on eBay. Like that's where I got this one because you can't find this one anymore. And I was like, oh, there's that one. And like there was the dolls for girls of all of the different women, and I'll probably think about getting a Becky Lynch one of that. But I can't say that I'm going to be looking forward to seeing her segments, especially if she's going to be a heel, especially if she's going to be like that. My only hope, my only prayer is that the fans react the same way they did in 2018.
Nobody's
They
gonna cheer
they reject the heel turn, and WWE and Becky goes, okay,
No.
this isn't working. They don't want.
Anakin, I'll say one point. I'll add one point to your whole rant. When we last saw her on TV before SummerSlam, what was she doing? Speaking from the heart, how she's pregnant and happy about that. Nobody wants to boo that. Nobody wants to boo that. They're not going to boo her.
People were willing to boo Seth after his dumb kid was born, and we all thought, oh, maybe they'll use this and then be like, hey, fatherhood changed me. I'm a changed man, and it.
I don't think that's. I think it's different with Becky though.
The way that she left was one of the most touching moments on WWE television.
It was one of the most
come
classy.
Back and be a heel after that. It was just ridiculous.
It was one of the most classiest things that WWE has done in a long time, and now it's a shame. It really is. It's literally gotten to the point where it's deteriorated, and now we're questioning what's next. And Becky left on a high, which that is the way it should be. And should have been raised up higher when she got back. The pop she had, let's be if we take the Punk and Lesnar pops away from it, that would have been the biggest pop of the night.
It was the biggest pop because of the biggest crowd.
Yeah, well, and Denise had said, Becky's return, that was the loudest pop that she had ever personally witnessed. And there was people who were like, well, Punk's return the night before, was louder, and she said, guys, I wasn't at Rampage. I wasn't in Chicago for Punk's return, so I can't comment on it. All I can comment is on what I have experienced and what she had experienced. She had never personally heard a pop as big as the one that hit.
I'll say this. United Center is much smaller than the football stadium, so the pop for CM Punk would be much louder. But if you had a CM Punk pop in a football stadium, that's the test.
Well, but the other thing too is, wasn't that stadium open to the air?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so that's the other thing too. So the sound's going up and out, whereas in the United Center, it's all inside. So it's
what makes it louder.
It's able to continue to. Well, right. I'm just saying that's why there are people going, oh, the.
You can't compare it. You can't compare the pops.
I think the Punk for pop, it sounded louder. It sounded louder to me. But that was also coming across on TV, because on TV, Punk's pop is reverberating around the arena, whereas Becky's pop, it's going up into the sky.
I mean, for me, Lesnar. I think for me, Lesnar coming back is to push Roman a little more.
What are you laughing at?
He said size matters. So it made me laugh. And now he's laughing.
Oh man. So yeah, I know. But the thing about it is that it's just Becky being back is good for business, as they say. Mm-hmm. But now
it would be if it's booked right.
Yeah, but we won't know that until tomorrow. But NXT right now is just the main question for me, because I'm
nervous about NXT.
I'm more scared of NXT being with all the changes they want to make to it and anything. But it's just. But I'm happy.
2 weeks. We're going to see a month from now what's going to look like, because it's taped right now, right, for the next 2 weeks.
And I know that from reading some reports that USA's pissed off about that royally.
It should be.
Well, yeah, because they
want it live,
not yeah. And it's one thing when it's during the pandemic and okay, obviously, need to make some concessions, but they've been able to work their way through it. So, now it was noted that there was only one segment on NXT this week that had the veterans or the older guys, because it was all in the promo with Joe and Kyle and I forget who else was there.
Dunn was in there.
Dunn, thank you. But all the other segments and matches and stuff were all with younger guys and then up and comer guys, and but it is sad, because it's the last takeover was seen as the end of an era, and by all accounts it was a good takeover. I only saw one match on it, which was Walter and Dumb Dragunov. I watched that last night in my break, and my gosh, what a physical match. That was some.
I have a
good
feeling with that match they're going to run it back again and make it like a
They
like the Rock and
They shouldn't.
Rock kind of thing. But I don't think they're going to bring that back until they go to Dublin or do one of the takeovers over there for the UK. I think most likely we'll see Walter and Dragunov maybe about a year and a half from now.
I want to know what your thoughts on Kaylee Ray.
I just want to personally thank Maggie for introducing me to Dragunov because.
What are your thoughts on Kaylee Ray in the US?
Can I just point out real quick, just as a side note, look how cool this thing is. Look at this. You've got the whole thing here. Then you have another head, the jacket, and then I don't know why she's got 2 extra arms, but then you've got the title belts. Like, this thing was like $40, and my son has seen these along with like the 2 or 3 AJ Styles ones, and he's gone.
You need to get a hold of Rob and do one of the...
I kind of want to play with those. And I'm like, sorry, these aren't for I'm playing with, but if you want stuff to play with, I'll buy you AEW dumb action figures, which apparently now are being sold at Meijer. So now I'm going to keep an eye out. And I'll tell you what, once I see a Britt Baker one, that's the first action figure I buy is a Britt Baker one.
There is a Britt Baker figure though.
It's coming out. It's not out yet. Because they got announced at Double or Nothing.
Shirt. So that's the next thing.
Mine's coming.
I pre-ordered one too, so I don't know what's coming from me because I'm international. So it might be a little bit longer than you guys.
I was telling Anakin I might end up just pre-order like that, or I might get the new Xbox that's coming out.
Drew, you should just wait until the Arthur Ashe show, because you know you're gonna be able to get one there. Because I know you had tried to get an order in, and then it ended up getting canceled, right?
Well, I got the CM Punk shirt.
You did get the CM. Okay.
Yeah, I actually, and it was a good thing too because the day I had just done it at like 12:30 in the morning. And then I think it was Monday morning they came back. They took the black ringer shirts away. Now it's just a regular white shirt. So I got in time.
Oh yeah. Well, I tried convincing Warren to buy me one of the CM Punk shirts that said I was there, and he went, "Dude, you don't understand how long the line is." And so I told him, "Well, you can go and Kristen can stay and she can tell you what all happened for Dark." And he goes, "No, I want to see it too." And I'm like, "You'll see it on YouTube on
Warren
Tuesday."
won't skip any wrestling, man. He would.
I did try. I did try to convince them because I was like, "You're," and I was even like, "I'll pay you," and he's like, "No." So
the only wrestling you won't see live is probably like Impact because he does a show during Impact.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, should we do this? Should we do the SummerSlam stuff or predictions, or do you got something else you want to talk about?
Well, I mean, for me, it's just I wish I could seen all this stuff out. So I got some positive news to tell y'all, and hopefully, I have a neurologist appointment next week in the morning. So Anakin's probably going to be the first one to get a phone call from everybody. I'm going to ask if I could start going to shows now.
Ooh.
I'll be seizure-free for about 20 years next year.
That's good.
And I think I could probably handle it. I mean, my girlfriend wants to go see Florida-Georgia line, so if he says yes, and then maybe Anakin's wish could happen at All Out next year, maybe?
Yes!
Maybe?
Oh, I am looking at that, and I'm like, I gotta get to there next year. Because right now, at this point, if WWE was to come back to Grand Rapids, especially if it's Raw, I'd probably be like, pass. I don't need to go to that. I don't.
The only way I would do, the only way I would shed out $170 would be if they pulled the trigger at Fenway Park. Because the guard, or even if they went to the Razor and they did SummerSlam at the Razor at Gillette, those are the two things that I could see them doing.
Because they were going to do SummerSlam where? Were they going to do it last
Boston
year?
here.
Yeah, but what?
They were going to do it at the TD Bank Garden.
Okay.
They were going to do it at the Garden. But for me though, it would make it a lot easier. So I don't want to go through an EEG. If you ever have gone through an EEG, they're not pleasant. You have to stay up for 24 hours, and which means I would be texting everybody who's literally doing overnights like Anakin and
A lot
Maggie.
of
yeah.
caffeine, man. A lot of caffeine for you.
Oh yeah.
No, I can't have caffeine at all.
No, so how are you going to do to stay
No.
up?
You just got to force yourself to be up. That's the way it works.
Yep. And then you
They
gotta lay in
attach,
the
they
bed.
attach all this stuff to your head.
Yeah, and then they put a strobe right in front of your face.
Yep.
Literally like inches away from your face.
I have a good idea. Think of Freddy Krueger and try not to go to sleep.
Yeah, no. What I usually do is like when I had to do them, I would just start walking back and forth. I would try watching some TV, go for a random drive if I'm not sleep deprived at that point.
See, I
They're
would
not fun.
just watch a whole bunch of stuff that gets me
Yeah.
hyped. So for me, that would be like movie trailers, like the movie trailers that get me really hyped, like that Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Oh, dog, that was a good trailer. I cannot wait for that movie.
Thumbs up.
Why
man.
don't why don't we end up on a high note? Because
Okay.
we covered the whole thing with Lesnar. We've covered everything with Becky for the most part. And
I don't think I
freaking-
left anything off the table.
no, pretty much. And then Punk. For Punk, though, I'll circumvent this because of me watching AEW last night and re-looking at that promo. I have two things about watching my first AEW show
I do
fully.
I do have a question for you specifically when you're done. So go ahead.
What the fuck was Don Callis wearing? He looked like a walking Pepto Bismol shirt.
Oh,
freaking commercial.
You should have seen for the 5-man 10-man tag several weeks ago with Hangman and 4 members of the Dark Order against Kenny, the Bucks, and the Good Brothers.
The Elite, yeah.
So you have Kenny and the Bucks and the Good Brothers, and they come out like Space Jam characters, and Don Callis comes out with the shortest shorts I have ever seen. Even Drew was like, ew. Like it was.
No, I remember you guys talking about that.
It was so bad. Like Don, he will. I don't know if he wears the same stuff on Impact, but on AEW he wears a lot of this really outlandish, ridiculous stuff.
Well, and then the whole thing that made me pop was him saying "Hi, April." I was just like, "Oh,
yeah,
that might hit
yeah.
something."
It could be, or it
The
could
other-
be.
No,
the other major-
the Brian Dawson stuff.
That too, yeah. The
Brian-
For me, if Britt Baker versus AJ Lee, Thunder Rosa versus AJ Lee, I'd be all down for hell. Give me this match because of the whole Forbidden Door thing. Because now I'm starting watching more of this. Deonna Purrazzo with let's say they do like an Omega version of for the women, and it's Deonna. Give me AJ Lee for an all or nothing match with Deonna. And I would just sit there for hours. Hell, if they weren't going to do Statlander and they were going to put Deonna in that spot and have Deonna put both of her titles that she has right now on the line, I would literally just sit there and just be like, this is going to be the best match of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
The other thing that Punk, the last thing that Punk, when the crowd started doing the yes chant,
Yeah.
and then he's like, be patient, be patient. That's somebody else's shtick.
Yep, and you gotta wait a little bit longer, and of course that's what got everybody's attention.
Which now has, and by the way, I did watch the post show on Fightful last night. Sean Rossap, you're a tease. You're a filthy tease. Because I know how to read lips, and I know what he said when that particular part came in.
For what now?
On the post show yesterday, somebody had super chatted about Daniel Bryan, and then they're talking about, is he gonna, when he's gonna show up soon? And I don't remember what. I think it was Alex said something, and then Sean went, "Oh yeah," and then afterwards he said September 5th, and then Sean just looks right at the camera and literally mouthed, he's debuting at all.
Well, that's the kind of thing that he said. something similar back before Thunder Rosa had officially signed full time with AEW. Because he had said how he already had done an interview set up with somebody post leaving the company for the beginning of the year, and I had put in chat, "Is it Thunder Rosa?" And he briefly flashed it on the screen, and Evan Wright and I both caught that, and we're like, "Oh, you know." But throwback, I wanted to ask you this question because this is something that has gotten discussed a lot about. Because a lot of people who've been watching AEW for a while feel like the show overall was fine. It wasn't a banger. It wasn't the bangers that we'd gotten for the last several weeks. It was probably the most fine episode we'd gotten since the Friday Night Dynamite following All Out. And there was a lot of wondering about, well, for people who don't really watch AEW, who are now starting to watch because of Punk, is this going to be a card that really gets them more interested in all the other things that are going on? So for somebody like you who last night was your first time watching the full show, like, what did you think of the card besides Punk? And is it something where there's more stuff than just Punk that kind of catches your interest?
Some of it's slowly building up. It's going to take time. Like for me, it wasn't like for a good way to say this. When I don't remember watching much of Saturday Night Mania when I was 4, obviously being 4. Mm-hmm. But my cousins tell me all the time I had a blast watching it with them. The thing with me though is that I literally got more and more into it as I got older. And stuff like the Ultimate Warrior was there and stuff like that. This is the old Boston Garden time frame. So like you're looking at maybe late 80s, early 90s before the Fleet Center came, which is now the Garden. And I think for me, wrestling got more important to me back then because of like the older buildings. Like you go into the old Boston Garden and you felt like you could literally be on top of these wrestlers and enjoy every match and stuff. Go into the where it's called the Song Center. They ideally made it almost the same way. You could see these matches and feel like the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. Ask JPJ and Fred Fries over at Love Wrestling. They'll literally tell you it feels like you're literally right on top of the person. You know, I love that feeling and atmosphere and stuff like that. So for me, watching AEW last night, did it feel like something like I was at an old stanky Boston Garden or, you know, somewhere like that? Yeah, kind of, but the card itself was okay. It just, you know, I'm expecting to get into it more and more over time and see where it goes, because eventually what's going to end up happening is that we're going to end up having, you know, Danielson there, Punk there, let's say AJ Lee. The more and more talent they have, it's going to be the same problem WWE had, but it's AEW. But the more and more you get into certain aspects of it, which is good. It's just
they might have to. They might have to. If they get a bigger roster, they might have to make Rampage a 2-hour show and move it from a 10-hour slot. But that's a long way for
not
to go.
Not at that time slot. They'd have to move it to a different time slot.
But not right now. That's a long way to go. It's a long way to go.
But I mean, that is something that, like, at the last 2 episodes at least, like, so many people have been like, oh, it's over already? Like, which is good. Like, we're wishing we had 2 hours of that show, you know, as compared to, you know, Raw, where after an hour you go, there's still 2 hours to go.
Yeah. So I'm going to say this, leave a comment, like, and subscribe while you guys are watching. You know, hit the notifications. If you're on Facebook and you're hitting the like button, also go over to the Twitch side and start talking too. I want to be able to do good things for these guys eventually, especially if you want to see me and Anakin, Drew, and Aaron all at a pay-per-view together and just literally sitting there shooting the shit live on StreamYard before we go in and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm just more excited to see what happens next, because the build-up for All Out seems like it's going to be great. It's going to be awesome. But for me, as like somebody who's casual right now with AEW and trying to get used to it, other than the people that we already know about, I think for me though, what has to happen is that they have to go out of all out with guns a-blazing and still keep having those extra bullets in those rounds to keep going and firing.
Yeah.
That's the difficult part. That's why I'm going to watch All Out, but I want to see what happens afterwards.
Yeah. The one thing that AEW has going for them is they're pretty good when it comes to to telling a satisfying story. There may be some misses. You're never gonna get 100%.
Truthfully, last night's show was kind of a miss.
Yes,
it was much less of a exciting show than usual.
Yes, but that's also grading on a curve because so many of the shows have been bangers and like stellar shows, and this so for me, like last night's show, except for like Punk stuff and then the Christian promo, there wasn't. It was something that you could have just watched the stuff on YouTube and fine. But that's so rare to say about Dynamite that if you're only getting those shows once in a while, like once every 2, 3, 4 months, that's still a really good track record, especially when compared to the other major company where you're only likely to get a good show every 3 to 4 months.
So the tournament's happening. A lot is going on. A lot of changes have happened. We have a bunch of next round matches all lined up. We're still scheduling the distraction match that we're trying to take place. I'm trying to work with Anakin and Tad to nail that down because of All Out being next week. And then we've got 2 other matches coming down the pike too, because I thought Night of Champions would be this month. It's not, and it looks like it won't be a Night of Champions this year, probably till about later half of the year. Sure. So I'm going to end up changing that up and maybe pull something out where, I'll figure it out with Tad. But we did have another match. We did. And it was a good friend of mine who watches this show religiously, and I'm glad for that person to do it. So
I promised Maggie I would take my sunglasses off for this.
No. You got to keep them on. You got to keep them on.
Well, you're making her unhappy, though. Sorry, Maggie.
Well, why don't we read the results and we'll end the show with something.
All right. So the results. The percentages were 100% to 78%. When it comes to the SummerSlam predictions, Drew, you are not the winner.
Drew. Okay, first of all, I'm gonna need you to take these fucking glasses off. Because you look exactly like this one dude I used to have casual sex with. And believe me, I have no trouble ending you. Just like I ended that relationship cold-heartedly. And second of all, it looks as though the universe wasn't quite ready for that Clash of the Champions match we would have had. Apparently so weren't you, because you lost. You fucked up. And you know what? I get it. I can be a bit intimidating. I got in your head. Deep down you knew you weren't ready for this. But here's the thing. If I ever get to win this title, I'm coming for your ass. And I'm gonna need you to put your shit together. Otherwise, I'm gonna job you out, boy. Until then, Queen Bee out.
Okay.
I just tweeted that just perfectly. I said she's here. She's here. The Queen Bee is here.
Okay.
Exactly.
Hold on a second. Wait. First of all, ambushed again. What a fucking surprise. But
this time.
This is not right. This is not right. No. First of all, I know I wrote down these predictions. If you said that they got 100%, but that's impossible because there was
Nothing's
no
impossible.
Bobby Lashley Goldberg match.
Oh, there was.
Bobby Lashley still won.
I didn't care about it, but there was.
Bobby Lashley did get the win, though.
Bobby Lashley walked out champion.
And then there's a difference between walking out with a championship and winning. And he did not.
If you walk out still the champion, that's a win.
Goldberg could have won, which would mean, from my predictions that I wrote down, that would mean, and you see, I even crossed this out because that match doesn't count. That was a ref stoppage.
Yes,
that doesn't count. So technically, we tied.
But if it's a ref stoppage, is this still a win for Lashley?
You still would have.
So let's do it this way.
What's the other one? Is that?
I picked Nikki Ash because I actually thought Nikki Ash was going to win.
The Queen is actually watching. All hail the bee.
No, I did not lose this. And Maggie, that was a very sweet video, and I'm going to have to actually go back and watch this again to actually absorb that.
I can play it again if you want.
100 to what? 78.
So let's just say this much. You made a stipulation. Are you saying you're a man of your word?
I can answer it.
By the way, note. He's no longer 2 belts Drew.
He's no belts
Drew. Let's just say this much, right? I will do something, and I'll make a decision, and I'll sit on it for a week. This will determine Drew's fate. It's not going to be made by Maggie, Anakin, JMT, Aaron, Pluggo, anyone in the tournament. It's going to be made by one person. The King of all worlds just texted me. He wants you to bow down to him. He says you have a week. And then in the text, he says that all chiefs need to be beheaded. There is only really one king. And then he quoted, there can only be one. It's your choice. You got to bow down, be a man. Because you right now are the second highest second chance behind Aaron. Weigh your options.
Behind me, boy.
Because then at Crown Jewel, if you do bow down, you get your protege, Pat Mason. You will literally finish off the underdog.
I cannot believe.
Think wisely.
Cannot believe that after all this time, I have been screwed again. Screwed left and right. Up and down.
Why don't you follow Sami Zayn and do a conspiracy?
Well, at least make sure that your partner doesn't use a blue chew.
Documented conspiracy.
I thought that Tad was going to do the right thing here. I really did. I thought that we really connected on that prediction show. Where I could have called him a friend. And now he's me.
I gave you an option. You have a week to decide. And the other thing he said, you cannot tweet it. You can't YouTube it. You can't do anything. You have to sit and make your decision 8:59 p.m. September 2nd. And he'll be watching. And then he ended the text to Maggie. Shh. He's listening. And then he just left. I haven't gotten a reply yet. I asked him, what the hell are you talking about? We get that bot again.
Yeah, I just thought.
Your choice, Drew. And on that note, we're going to leave on the show on a high.
A high?
Anyways.
For the three of us, not you, Drew.
So, Maggie, you've got your opportunity against the King of all worlds. But Drew, make your decision and make it very, very clear. He says to bow down to him. Go after Pat.
Bow down to the king.
Go after Pat Mason at Crown Jewel. Get your second chance at possibly going after Dennis Farrell and Maggie. Or perish. And if not, you won't be the head of the table. You won't be two belts Drew. You will have
You'll be at the head of the kids' table.
You'll just be chasing after Maggie for the title. You'll be chasing after, hoping you get into that first contenders match at Mania.
He'll be like, he'll be like that one kid. I can't remember his last name, but the one kid named Oliver. Please, sir, can I have some more?
Yes.
So I do got to get going.
But Anna can tell them where they can find you.
You can find me down there at the Twitter at AnakinJMT, also on the Mr. Warren Hayes Discord. Next week, Saturday, we're going to be doing a stage event, doing predictions for All Out and talking all about it and kind of our thoughts on it. So definitely look forward to that. I still need to nail down a time. I'll do it. So by this time next week, I should have an actual time down, but we are going to do it next Saturday afternoon. And yeah, you can find me on Twitter and just continuing to shock that person down there all the time. So
again,
peace out. And don't forget, Drew, bow down to the king.
all I gotta say is the ball. It's in your hands, dude. You made that stipulation. Tad's thing is final. But I gave you, and he gives you, an overruling. And you cannot tweet about said overruling or you violate it. You cannot go on YouTube and say it. And you can't go into any chats or anything and saying that you got screwed. You have to make that decision on air this time next week. If you bow down to it, your match is against Pat Mason. If you don't, you just Drew. Not the head of the table. No two belts. Not the wicked crazy Pinfalls champion. The ball's in your court, bud. I want you to be successful as much as anybody outside of all this place. But it's your choice. Pat Mason in the title. Nothing. He was very, very lenient and very persistent. He wants to overrule Tad's authority. I gave him in the ball court. It was his choice. He got the perfect score. So he has the card to do it. On that note, check out Love Wrestling. We're going to go raid them after that. Check out Sisters Custom Designs. And check out Aaron's stuff too. Aaron does 4 shows a week at Aaron Entertainment. And check out these guys' Twitter handles. They're on the bottom. Do a good deed, pay it forward. Thank you, Queen Bee, to show up. Thank you, Maggie. And thank you guys for making everything better. Have a good night.